What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Man, there has been a lot of Marvel drama recently. We've heard that some actors are fighting on set, and some old writers, Bo DeMaio from X-Men 97, is speaking out about kind of how Marvel operates, and now Nia DaCosta, the director of the Marvels, has kind of spoken out and backed him up on a few things. There's a lot going down. So let's break it all down. The first thing you need to know, I think, is this video right here. John Roca and Christian Harloff on one of their shows, this happened, and this sparked kind of everything with the two actors fighting on set.
So heated that certain scenes involving their respective characters have to be altered or removed from the script entirely. Who are the actors that are fighting?
Oh, I'm not going to say that.
No?
No, I do know, yes. And they are two pretty big actors. And apparently a comment, from what I understand, a comment was made in jest that was a bit too familiar because these actors didn't know each other that well. They had crossed the line. And one of the actors got really upset about it, confronted the other actor.
Said it in jest like publicly, or said it in jest like behind the scenes? Okay.
And that caused a big rift and battle, and I'm just going to leave it at two very outspoken actors went at each other. And from what I understand and what I was told, one of the actors Marvel said, we'll shoot your scene separately, or we'll shoot scenes without the other actor in it, or we'll figure it out in some other way. And so that actor felt that the fact that Marvel was willing to make these concessions was enough, because they also told this actor that it cost like millions of dollars to shoot.
Yeah, I heard it was going to cost around like $18 million or something to reshoot those scenes. But the actor, whoever it may be, felt that since Marvel was simply going, oh, you know what, to accommodate you and this beef, but to like keep you here, and not that like they could leave, they have contracts, but to make them feel better, they're going to shoot scenes separately. And the fact that Marvel was willing to do that, I guess they were like, oh no, it's fine. I just wanted to know you cared. That's what it sounds like to me. It's like, oh, at least you care. Okay, you know what? I'll do it. But costing the studio $18 million, I would say no. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much to like a movie that might have like a $500 million budget, but it's still $18 million. He would later go on to say in a different video that it's not Ryan Reynolds, it's not Robert Downey Jr., and it's not Pedro Pascal. It's none of those three. They're not involved at all. So it's not between Robert Downey Jr. and anybody, not between Ryan Reynolds and anybody, and not between Pedro Pascal and anybody. So of course that begs the question, well, who could it be? And we could speculate all day. The truth is we'll never really know, right? But here's the thing. This stuff happens on movie sets, right? This stuff happens probably pretty frequently. We've heard like big ones before, like big rivalries in Hollywood. Like think about The Rock and Vin Diesel for the Fast and Furious franchise. They had beef, right? You know, like this just happens. It was not a physical altercation. He would go on and clarify that. But you just wonder what could be said. And you wonder between who. Was it like somebody who's been at Marvel for a while with a rookie? Also, who's outspoken enough to say something? You know what I mean? Especially if you are a rookie. I don't want to speculate on who it could be. Honestly, my initial reactions would have been Robert Downey Jr. with somebody. But I know Robert's very professional. He's a very professional guy. Marvel loves him. And I think most people love him. And everybody has been saying, like Vanessa Kirby, we've heard her say this, and Pedro Pascal, like Robert Downey Jr. has been an absolute leader on the set. And people are learning from him. He's teaching people. So it doesn't sound like it would be him. But I also could see how people might take that the wrong way. I don't know, like, hey, don't insert yourself. I don't know. I think a lot of people really have a lot of respect and love for Robert Downey Jr. Didn't think it was him. Maybe Ryan Reynolds. Apparently it's not him either. Pedro, I don't really see people having too many problems with Pedro. I don't know. Again, I could throw some names out there, but we don't know. So why bother? So that's part of it. You know, people tend to freak out about this, and also the report that there's not a finalized script for Doomsday. But hey, okay, first I'll acknowledge that can be bad. Certainly, yes. And especially after we're going to get into some things that some writers have said, yeah, it can be bad. But the Russo, and I will say, sorry again to just jump back and forth like this, but I will say I would be a little bit worried if it wasn't for the fact that the Russo brothers and Stephen McFeely are directing and writing this film. If it was just like Marvel with some unknown director or director that, doesn't have, I would say, just like the reputation that the Russo brothers had, I would be a little skeptical about this. But the Russo brothers went into Infinity War and Endgame with basically an incomplete script, but most of it completed. They directed The Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. I have confidence in the Russo brothers. Not even saying I have confidence in Marvel, but I have confidence in the Russo brothers and Stephen McFeely, who has been a part of that all. So, Kevin Feige, the Marvel Studios president, came out and said, like, yeah, we go in with scripts, but actors have ideas and they know the characters, or we have an idea for a scene and we change it. I get that, and that's fine. But you have to have a majority of the script done, which I think they did. I could be wrong, but I feel like for Doomsday, they're going to get it right. And Secret Wars as well. And I don't think having an unfinished script at this point is that big of a deal. We have a while till the movie comes out. Like, we're sitting okay right now, so I'm not too concerned. But man, if you go to some of the stuff that Bo DeMaio said, it gets pretty crazy. I don't know. I think it's yeah. So we'll basically start with this one. Bo DeMaio, who was a writer for X-Men 97, who was fired, which is why I always say you have to kind of take this with a grain of salt, because he could be somebody who's just really pissed off at the whole situation and be talking. I do think probably what he's saying is probably true. But he states, nice to see others speaking out, and it's not just directors. I'm sorry, I should probably read this part first. The Marvel's director, Nia DaCosta, says the lack of a solid script was one of her issues with the film. That's gonna just wreak havoc on the whole process. There was a certain point when I was like, okay, this isn't going to be the movie that I pitched, which is interesting to hear. But this is basically lining up with kind of all of the reports that we've been hearing right now about Avengers Doomsday. Non-completed script. They're going into the movie, and it changes constantly. And that part has been made very clear, that the script that they do have, it changes as well. So not only is it an uncompleted script that you're walking into a movie with, but it's also going to change as well. But again, I think if you have a director who can handle it and the actors who can handle it, it can be done right. I don't think that was the case for the Marvels, in my personal opinion. But then Bo DeMaio responded to this and said, nice to see others speaking out, and it's not just directors. Actors deserve a finished script so they can dig in and make discoveries of their own, bringing depth and layers to their performance. When an actor gets totally new pages for a scene the night before they shoot, they have zero time to memorize their lines or even discuss them with a director. You get an inferior product. They can't even track emotional through line. Note how Harrison Ford, an actor known for deep preparation, speaks about his experience. No amount of Marvel Studios magic can outwit a century's worth of filmmaking 101. Again, you can get the movie made, but your cast and crew will be exhausted and abused during the process. So what's interesting is what he's saying is true to an extent. I think both are true. Meaning, I think you should have pretty much a finalized script before you go into a movie, especially a really big project. But you do have to be open to changes, because as Kevin Feige stated, you get an actor like Robert Downey Jr. who knows his character. I'm talking about Iron Man, and I'm assuming he knows Doom. He's going to read up a lot and, study. But, he knows that character. Speaking about Iron Man, he's played him for a while. He's going to have inspiration and ideas, and sometimes those are going to be gold, and you have to go with that. So you have to be adaptable, right? You have to be willing to adapt to changes, to good ideas, because I think that's how you get a really good movie. But at the same time, you have to have a solid base, because otherwise it's just going to be this random thing, which I think is what the Marvels was. I don't think it's very well written, but yeah, I don't think it's hard to direct when you don't have a solid script, but I think the direction for it in general was pretty bad. But it sounds like maybe it wasn't her fault. They gave her something that wasn't what she pitched, which I can understand how that could just be bad. And obviously the movie did not end up doing that well. But I think there's a fine line that Marvel needs to find between really having everything fleshed out, but again, like I said, also be willing to receive the inspiration from the actors that they are getting. So the actors have ideas, they have to be open to it, and they have to go, okay, that makes sense. Let's do it. Let's do it. But no doubt some drama's going on at Marvel right now. Bodemaya has been saying a lot of stuff as well. Over time, we have seen that kind of what he's saying has been true. The staff has been overworked, but the Disney Plus thing made everyone overworked. So it sounds like Marvel's changed. I hope so, right? I do love Marvel, but I definitely know they can fail. And I don't think that everything they've put out over the past years has been good. I think it was a terrible decision moving away from Kang. Terrible decision. I think they should have stuck with that. I really do. Even if they had to recast, whatever, they should have stuck with that story. Some things are questionable. Some projects were questionable. But it sounds like everything's getting back on track now. And honestly, if Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars fail, which I don't think there's really a chance they can fail, but if they did, hey, we get a reset. We go into the X-Men, the Fantastic Four with the Avengers, with a new universe, a lot of new characters, a lot of exciting things. So I think they're going to be okay. But it is interesting to sometimes hear that, you know, on top of all these other things like, oh, too many Disney Plus projects, all that stuff, like there's some stuff that happens on the sets of thing, you know, but that's being human, I think. You know, how many people work with people they don't like? Who knows what it really is? Maybe it'll come out. Maybe we'll get some interviews and saying there's some little spats, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about everything. Does it really affect how you feel about any of this? Because to me, it really doesn't. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Catch you all in the next one. Peace.